moving kind of away from crises, is there anything in common about the companies that innovated successfully in the past or recently? And are there any things to be wary of or warning signs for where innovation is not going to be successful?
Okay. I think one of the common elements, looking across the 51 companies that have survived, is that they haven't just innovated what they produce for other people, they've innovated their culture as well, with a couple of really notable examples. So 3M, I talked about the 25% rule, but before the 25% rule existed, there was a 15% rule, where people should spend 15% of their time working on innovative projects that they care about. Because the people at 3M have always understood that you can't mandate creativity all the time, and actually it can be a really good thing to employ intelligent people and allow them time and space to follow their own creativity as well. So a really example of kind of cultural change there. And the 15% rule predates the 25% rule, and I could talk to you at length about Thomas Watson Jr. at IBM. And if anyone's familiar with IBM's concept of wild ducks, there were profound kind of cultural, innovative thoughts that happened there. And a lot of those organizations, once you actually take a little bit of a peek under the hood, innovated their culture alongside innovating their products and services, which, again, just becomes this really beautiful self-sustaining situation.
Great. Claire, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think maybe picking up on some of the things that Nick's saying, and also some of the questions here about, failing fast and learning, and kind of not betting the farm. I think there's so much there about company culture, and and obviously if you're an individual, you're your own kind of weather, and you can do whatever it is that you want to do. I think that idea of of what you were talking about, the 70-20-10 rule, Nick, is the rule that I sometimes speak to people about, which is I think born out of the 3M piece and then the Google piece, which is about spending, if you have £100 or 100% of your time, is spending 70% of it on doing what works, and which you're pretty, as much as you can be clear or sure, if that was an advertising budget, it's going to get you eyeballs or clicks or whatever it might be. 20% on doing something that's a little bit more risky, but you still think that it has potential, and then 10% you actually potentially don't know, that's your wild duck. But to Mark's point, I think it was Mark's question, Mark was asking, how do you do it and don't bet the farm? Well, almost set up your own, even if you're a small company, almost set up your own innovation lab or your own pilot, just to try something and then see what you learn from it. And I think the thing that all organizations that I've looked at that have in common is that they are prepared to learn. So it's not saying, when you lose, we all fail at things, and things will not necessarily go, but when you lose, don't lose the lesson. I think that's the important thing. And those of you who have read around growth and fixed mindset, and actually I do talk about in your creative element, this idea of, okay, so we've got to try and learn from that. And that's where resilience comes from, actually. Resilience comes from us learning from what's gone wrong, and also what went right. Google do a really interesting thing. They publish a quarterly failure report, which you can see online, and it's kind of their idea of saying, okay, look, this is what went wrong, a bit like 3M did with with their innovation projects, which is what's gone wrong, and then can anyone else learn from this so that we don't have to do it. So I think there's several ways to just think about, having your own, just set up a mini pilot in something, put maybe a little bit of budget into something and see what works or doesn't work before you bet the whole farm. And the other great, technology enables us to do that now. We can use simple things, whether it's client surveys or MailChimp, or, you can use Balsamic, and you can wireframe an app this afternoon if you have the desire, so you can really kind of prototype and do things more quickly. And I think that's really positive.